Good afternoon. Thanks again for joining me for another episode of our little video series. Today we're going to talk about the issue of size and scale in a government. Looking at the videos with Dr. Livingston, one of the issues that he quoted Thomas Hobbes about was as far as republics are concerned, he used the example of France calling itself a republic. However, when you take a look at a republic's size is not supposed to be as big as what France was during that time. And obviously, if you take a look at the modern era, France's population, has actually blown up quite a bit. It's a little bit bigger than it was. Well, actually, a lot bigger than it was back in that time period in the 18th century. So we take a look at that Hobbesian issue of size and size becoming a major component to establishment of a certain form of government. So we also looked at the quasi independent cities or somewhat semi autonomous cities during the Middle Ages. And one of the things that was also a major issue was a component of does this kind of government is it able to reflect central government's authority? Well, once again, we look at Hobbes, and really important the issue about the artificial man that is now known in the Common Era, and all of this, of course, is taken from Dr. Livingston's video series, parts 1 and 2, regarding what what size and scale or how important it is for an actual government, right, or an absence of government. Well, one of the things that becomes very interesting is um, during the time period during the time of the monarchies is whether or not these semi-autonomous municipalities, such as cities, are able to generate their own governance. And he said, of course, yeah, you can, so long as the central authority is not being violated to some degree, or also if the monarch at this point in time comes down and looks at the local leader, or at this point, burgermeister or a mayor, that the central authority, the monarch, will of course interfere at this point in time. However, if you look at the American modern example of the republic, we have what's called federalism. We have the division, of the national state, and then of course, the local governance, or types of government that really control the lives of over 350 million citizens in the United States. So that becomes very important because it's very difficult to govern from a central perspective. Centrally, when you have a population center that is as big as the United States, it becomes an issue, right? So what does government do? Well, our founding fathers turned around and they decided, the best thing to do is to formulate a plan where we have a central government, albeit like not like the one from the Articles of Confederation or not like the monarchy under King George III. However, what we have is this new method, new system where we do establish a republic. However, the republic is going to be layered, kind of like a cake. There's going to be different layers, or a lasagna. You have the layer up at the top. You have the federalist level, and of course you have state level in the middle, and then right at the core, you of course have the the local level, which of course is what we would call today grassroots if you're looking at politics. But what happens is, in order to govern at such a grand scale, what ends up happening is there has to be a form of shared powers, like federalism has done so for the past 250 years, roughly. It is very important to take a look at that, because what you're really seeing is the only way a government can control and prevent chaos and anarchy with such a high geographical area and such a high population, such a dense geographic area, is to establish these semi-autonomous um, cities or microcosms, smaller um, authority locations, or locations rather, that have authority where they are able to retain some autonomy, but within, of course, having the context of the national law being applicable. And I think Dr. Livingston, talked about, he used the example of, traffic lights and traffic policies, and as such, what ends up happening is we all have to play by a certain set of rules. However, we are all acting independently from whatever may be transpiring from different levels, as long as we play by the same rules. So that was one of the best takeaways that I got from Dr. Livingston's two videos, which is very important. So we're going back to the issue of scale and size. What are the problems? Well, the problems, of course, you're going to look at being how does one control such a big geographic area? You look at the Russians, as well. They call themselves a pseudo, if you want to call it, a republic. Um, but it's very very difficult if you don't have an internal system that allows for the shared responsibility, the shared powers, such as we have here in the United States under federalism. It's very important to retain liberty at the lowest level, but at the same time, you also have a lot of independence, right? So we have this major blanket of laws, but within that blanket, you're free to move about within, right? So long as you don't bump into someone else. So that's one of the key takeaways from this important video. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.